Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's 7th annual State of the City Address. While the COVID-19 pandemic has made this a pre-recorded and virtual event, I would still like to start by recognizing our City Council members for serving this wonderful community as elected officials, but also as community volunteers. They are unpaid and commit significant amounts of their personal time to represent this community and to take on tough community issues. We certainly appreciate their service, and I'd ask that you join me in giving them a round of applause this evening. So, as we begin, I think it's fair to say that 2020 was a year of unprecedented events. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has added new words like social distancing, isolation, quarantine, contact tracing, and positivity rate to our everyday vocabulary. We are now wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, and avoiding large gatherings to protect ourselves, our family, and our friends. Many members of our community have experienced COVID-19 firsthand, some experiencing no symptoms, while others needing intensive care as they fight to survive. To the many in our community who have lost close friends and loved ones, you continue to have our love and our support in these very difficult times. Throughout this adversity, we also see the impressive response of our community and certainly the City of Janesville team. Courage, compassion, and common sense have persevered in our community, moving us forward together as we face these challenges together. In light of the events of this past year, and more so, the remarkable response of our city, I'd like to point out that not only is the state of the city strong, but the state of the city is truly resilient here in Janesville. In the face of global pandemic, city departments and staff have truly embodied one of our core organizational values, the value of adaptability. City staff has worked diligently to adapt to a new biological operating environment, while continuing to provide the first-class service that our community deserves and truly desires. Some examples of this include the city's Emergency Operations Center was activated at the start of the pandemic and continued in some capacity throughout 2020. With the assistance of our Information Technology Office, remote workstations were created, police substations were built, essential equipment for virtual meetings was purchased, and countless hours were spent troubleshooting and supporting our city operations. The Economic Development Office implemented a COVID-19 economic recovery plan, which included the creation of a microloan program designed as a resource for our community's small businesses. Likewise, the Clerk Treasurer's Office conducted a massive and historic general election with a record high turnout. Amidst the background of heightened political rhetoric and a public health emergency, staff from that office helped over 34,000 voters, 23,000 of which were absentee voters, exercise their right to vote. And while I won't list every example of our team's adaptability, I would be remiss if I did not highlight the exemplary work of our first responders in the police and fire departments who provided exceptional and responsive service to the citizens of Janesville throughout this very strenuous time. Chances are many of you noticed our staff rising to meet the unexpected challenges and ensure our community continues to grow and thrive. Through their commitment to our core values of respect, service, communication, and, of course, this year, adaptability, our organization as a whole has maintained service levels across all departments and kept the city on track to achieve our strategic goals. And for that, I thank every one of our city team. Now, the city's strategic plan defines 9 goals that guide the city in its operations and serve as priorities as we look forward. Each goal intersects together, realizing our city's vision to be the community of choice to realize life's opportunities. As we look to the heart of our community, we reflect on our first goal, to position our downtown as a vibrant neighborhood where commerce, culture, entertainment, and history intersect. The pandemic presented serious obstacles to our downtown objectives as we explored ways to continue to encourage downtown development and visitorship safely throughout 2020. However, in the spirit of adaptability, staff still worked to facilitate many of the downtown's signature events. We saw the successful completion of the Blaine Gilbertson Family Heritage Bridge, connecting the east and west sides of the town square, and the rehabilitation of the Milwaukee Street Bridge. In addition, construction began on the River Flats Apartments, a much-needed affordable housing project in our downtown. In cooperation with community partners, our Recreation Division innovated their programming to still provide engaging and meaningful events like music at the Marv, a reverse holiday light parade, and a COVID-style farmers market throughout the summer months. The second strategic goal directs us to encourage the sustained growth and diversification of our local economy. While this past year was marked with financial uncertainty, Janesville's local economy continued to capitalize on its advantages and build upon recent growth. 2020 saw over 3,766 building permits issued, including 107 new single and two-family residential permits. That figure is notable and significant because it has been over a decade since the city has issued more than 100 permits for new homes in a given year. The city also had several multifamily residential developments open, including the Diamond Ridge Apartments, the Glade, and Seneca Foods Migrant Labor Housing Project. These development projects helped in adding almost 284,000 square feet of multifamily residential space to our community. Even with the pandemic's worrisome effects on our many local businesses, commercial development continued to grow with over 260,000 square feet of additional industrial space added to the city in 2020, including exciting new developments from employers like Shine Therapeutics and Caliber Collision. Further still, our economic development staff advanced the environmental remediation of Catalytic Site Number 2 here in the downtown, which is the site of the former county jail right alongside the Rock River, and that was at no cost to our local taxpayers. This past year, perhaps more so than ever, demonstrated the importance of our next strategic goal, financial sustainability. The city continues to focus on providing accurate and transparent services, being keen to plan for long-term financial sustainability. Staff from our city assessor's office completed the city's assessment roll on time, allowing for continuity in the city's budgeting process. The city's fiscal year 2019 audit was completed, and for the third year in a row, found no significant deficiencies, misstatements, or auditor entries. Staff also worked diligently to secure donations and grant funding. Notably, through the CARES Act, staff worked diligently to accurately track, record, and submit reimbursement requests to help offset the costs caused by the pandemic. In total, the city received over $17.2 million in grants and donations over the past year. This includes over $5.5 million in reimbursements from the CARES Act, a $250,000 stewardship grant award for the Town Square project, and almost $350,000 to Janesville Mobilizing for Change to assist with their community health efforts. The Housing Services Division, with almost $4.2 million in state and federal grants, deserves a round of applause as the big winner this past year. Those critical grant funds will continue in part to provide critical rent assistance moving forward for those members of our community that take advantage of that program. The next strategic goal of the city is to communicate our strengths, priorities, and initiatives while maintaining trust and confidence through effective engagement. Nothing quite underscores the importance of clear communication and trusted engagement like a health crisis here in our community, in our state, and certainly our nation. We held daily and then weekly community briefs to the public during the initial months of the pandemic. The city also launched a new city website designed to allow residents and visitors more efficient access to community information. Likewise, the Hedberg Public Library worked creatively to offer new services and implemented a curbside pickup program for its patrons. Our next goal is to build upon the community's foundation of well-planned, maintained, dependable, and sustainable infrastructure. Some of the highlights from 2020 include the completion of Hedberg Public Library's transformation renovation, which featured $1.3 million in donated funds. The Public Works Department completed the construction of its first new landfill cell, and they also began implementing advanced metering infrastructure, or smart meters, within our water utility, which will allow for more accurate and efficient water metering readings. Janesville Transit System, or JTS, implemented real-time bus tracking software, a new rider app, and onboard annunciation, ensuring accessible rides for all of our residents. In a year that saw an increased demand on our information technology office, IT staff upgraded the city's virtual infrastructure, successfully replacing our email server and the voice-over IP system. IT staff also equipped our public safety vehicles with new FirstNet communication systems, allowing our first responders to more quickly receive information and make informed decisions. Another goal discussed within our strategic plan is to embrace and enhance collaboration within our community stakeholders to realize shared success for this community. In the spirit of that cooperation, we can look back to our downtown, where 2020 also saw the culmination of years of public-private collaboration, achieving the grand opening of our town square. The Economic Development and the IT offices also teamed up to enter a public-private partnership with WIN to extend fiber service south to Centennial Industrial Park, which is the General Motors Janesville Assembly Plant former site, to the Janesville Innovation Center at the corner of Beloit Avenue and State Highway 11, and to the city's South Side Park Place Innovation Campus, which is the business park for Dollar General and Nature Pack and other businesses in that area. The accomplishments discussed thus far, and all of those still to be covered, begin and end with the work of our city employees. It is our organizational goal of performance culture that seeks to cultivate an environment that empowers our team of engaged, innovative, and diverse employees. This year's accomplishments in this area include the hiring and promotion of 38 employees, even with a hiring freeze for 8 of the months, and a change in interviews to a virtual environment due to the pandemic. The Public Works Department also became the first public works agency in the state of Wisconsin to be accredited by the American Public Works Association, recognizing top-tier service by their staff and adherence to recommended industry practices. And staff in the City Assessor's Office also received an award from the Wisconsin Association of Assessing Officers for its innovative approach to managing assessment duties during the pandemic. While those are simply a few of our employees' recognized accomplishments from this past year, there are countless more examples of our employees embodying our organizational values and ensuring the success of our community. Another goal of our strategic plan focuses on promoting, enhancing, and respecting one of the city's most unique features, the Rock River. We have seen improvements to the Rock River corridor, specifically at the Monterey Area River Restoration Project, which concluded this year with construction of the natural shoreline and recreation amenities that were added to that shoreline. The final strategic goal calls upon us to advance the safety, health, and overall well-being of our residents and neighborhoods through cooperation and engagement of an active lifestyle. The Janesville Police Department performed over 57,000 activities this past year. They also established a calls for service reductions team, which researched the various calls that officers respond to and then developed strategies to better problem solve the underlying issues. The fire department likewise responded to 10,252 calls for service amidst the setting of a monumental health crisis. All JFD officers also became Type 4 and 5 Blue Card Incident Commander certified, and all firefighters received a new additional set of turnout gear, which allows them to properly decontaminate after each fire. Elsewhere in the community, Janesville Mobilizing for Change successfully launched their sexual violence prevention team and focused on virtual outreach program events such as Hidden in Plain Sight. This online presentation for adults was designed to help identify the warning signs of substance use by providing a virtual tour exploring a teenager's mock bedroom. The Recreation Division showed tremendous initiative in transitioning its programs to provide safe, engaging events for the community. Their efforts saw over 100,000 participants take part in recreation programs this past year, with programs like the Enchanted Forest, which pivoted to a drive-through style event at Traxler Park and welcomed a record attendance of 8,213 participants within the safety of their own vehicles. While 2020 brought with it a tumultuous year that included a global pandemic, heightened social and racial tensions, and a divisive presidential election, thanks to the efforts of staff and the support of our community, the city team made truly great strides in achieving its goals in 2020. Now, as we begin 2021, we are poised to do the same and more. Due to the vast number of initiatives and projects planned for this year, I will not be able to highlight every single one of them. I will, however, focus on a couple of top priorities from each of our strategic goal areas. In the downtown, staff will continue to work with our partners like Downtown Janesville Incorporated, the Janesville Farmers Market, the Business Improvement District, and JPAC as we look proactively to promote the new town square with a full season of events and activities. The Economic Development Office will also continue to promote additional development and redevelopment opportunities within the downtown, including the new environmentally remediated catalytic site number 2 at the site of the former county jail. As it relates to the local economy, staff from the Economic Development Office will work to advance the development of the exciting Shine Medical Technologies site, as well as markets the city's other shovel-ready sites on our south side. Implementation of marketing and development programs related to the Centennial Industrial Park will also move forward in 2021. This year, the strategic goal of financial sustainability will include the exploration of implementation of a transportation utility as a sustainable long-term mechanism for funding to support the city's road program. Staff will also review the fee structure for towns that contract with the city for fire and EMS services, ensuring equity and long-term financial sustainability. As it relates to our image and engagement strategic goal, the library will implement its new marketing plan, diversifying its communications tools as they tell the library's story. We will also conduct a citywide citizen satisfaction survey to better understand the community's needs, obtain feedback on city services, and views on important decisions ahead that the city and the community will face together. This upcoming year, related to our infrastructure strategic goal, the Public Works Department will reconstruct and complete streetscape improvements for West Milwaukee Street, in addition to completing 12.5 miles of planned road replacements. The city will continue its lead service replacement program, in part with a $1.8 million grant from the State Department of Natural Resources, which will certainly improve the health and safety of our community. Virtually in conjunction with the assessors and clerk treasurer's offices, the city's IT office will implement Gov'n Open, which is a forms program, and that will happen this year. This will also move data into the cloud, thereby creating increased flexibility and the opportunity for new services to provide to our community. Focusing on the partnership strategic goal, the fire department will continue its functional merger with the Milton Fire Department and will also explore consolidation, serving as an excellent example of collaboration with our local government partners to leverage economies of scale. The library will work to build its network of program and service partners as its new Small Business Startup Series begins in partnership with Madison Score Mentors to more effectively reach and engage budding entrepreneurs in our community. And of course, staff throughout the city will continue to partner with volunteers and identify new ways to integrate those community members into our efforts. Turning our attention to the performance culture strategic goal, the city will continue its efforts to retain and develop our workforce. For example, our fire department will implement a new officer mentorship program this year. For our Rock River Corridor strategic goal, the city will continue to support our volunteer friends groups in river and shoreline cleanup activities and expand our ongoing efforts to market the river as a regional recreation attraction. The strategic goals of a safe and healthy community include installing new playgrounds at Vista Park and at the Youth Sports Complex. The Recreation Division will develop a new recreation master plan to guide our parks and recreation efforts over the next coming years. The fire and police departments will purchase and install new radios, enhancing emergency communications capabilities for officers in their vehicles and also on their persons. Finally, the police department will develop a new vision and leadership plan for the African American Liaison Advisory Committee. The department will also continue a new project that reviews high-profile national use of force incidents and proactively determines if policy or training changes are needed for the department as a result. To achieve our goals and accomplish these upcoming initiatives, the city will need to confront a variety of challenges this coming year. COVID-19 certainly is still an ever-present danger to our community and will be so throughout 2021. We will continue to confront its health impacts on our staff and community, thus requiring us to work proactively with our partners in the community and certainly our partners in the world of public health. We will also confront the economic impacts of the pandemic, both for the city organization and for our community as a whole. Legislatively, the city continues to confront the erosion of fiscal local control. Despite the essential services municipalities provide, the state's levy limit restrictions continue to restrict our ability to generate the funds needed to meet rising service costs, especially as they relate to inflation. This especially punishes financially prudent municipalities like Janesville, where the equalized property tax rate is second lowest among our 14 peer communities. The state also continues to unevenly distribute state shared revenue, with Janesville receiving the lowest combined property tax and shared revenue per capita of all of our peer communities. Organizationally, the City of Janesville's workforce continues to age, with an average employee age of 44 years old. As our existing workforce begins to transition into retirement, we face a loss of organizational knowledge and increased challenges to recruit and retain new employees. And finally, socially, the city remains mindful of the added stresses and challenges on our community caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We must continue to engage community members, continuing to be proactive in our ability to incorporate community feedback and build those precious relationships. So you ask, how can you help the city overcome these challenges and be a part of our community's successes? First and foremost, you can communicate with us. Although we are virtual at this time, you can provide feedback via our website, you can send an email, or simply call to ask a question or provide comments, and we welcome those. You can also lobby our state and federal legislators. Local government depends upon input from our citizens, especially as our state and federal representatives consider the challenges posed by things like levy limits and shared revenue. We encourage you to attend our events and meetings. We actively seek your input and feedback on projects and issues through functions like this address tonight. And lastly, we encourage you to volunteer. Even in the time of COVID-19, we have hundreds of volunteers serving the community in dozens of capacities, from committee members to parks volunteers and to election day poll workers. Get involved and see an impact in your community. Finally, you can always stay connected to the city by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, receiving emergency updates from the JPD via Nixle, connecting with us on LinkedIn, and receiving city news through your email. In closing, I'd like to thank the staff members responsible for tonight's event for pulling all of the information together, and I would like to thank especially JATV for helping us to produce this virtual event for the community. Of course, I'd also like to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's event and everything that you do as community members to make Janesville a wonderful place for all of us to live, work, and play. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you and our City of Janesville team especially for all that you do to serve and support our great community. Remember, stand tall, stand firm, stand together, because we are Janesville strong. Thank you all, and have a good night.